Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the second session of day 2 of week 3 of ALYFE Connect, our very first virtual-only event brought to you exclusively by ALYFE Group. We're having an interesting session this evening, our very first yoga session, which I'm very much looking forward to, and even more so because we are delighted to welcome a very experienced teacher. We are having with us this afternoon Mr. Aaron Wik, who is an RYT 500. For those of you who don't know what that means, and that was me until recently, that means Aaron is a registered yoga teacher who has spent over 500 hours on that teaching course alone. In fact, he is so experienced, he teaches the teachers. So I'm sure he'll have a lot of very, very interesting and very informative and very instructional things to share with us this afternoon. He'll be taking us through his journey into the yoga, into the world of yoga, and how it all started for him, as well as showing us and demonstrating some basic flexibility moves to work on at home and even some arm balances. So without further ado, please help me welcome Aaron. Good afternoon.
Hey guys, how's it going? So yeah, that was a really nice introduction that you gave there. But yeah,
I think someone who spent as much time as you perfecting their craft, I think kind of the bio writes itself, right? I mean, like this is clearly something that you're very, very accomplished at. So it's good to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, man. Thanks for having me. And
cool.
yeah, let's get this started.
Let's get it started, indeed. So a little bit about you first, Aaron. So tell us, you're originally based mostly out of Sri Lanka, right? But you're in KL at the minute. I know you travel a lot doing what you do, and it just so happened you found yourself in Kuala Lumpur as the lockdown struck. So tell us about what you've been up to during this time. How have you been spending the time at home or indoors, as it were?
Well, when initially I was supposed to leave KL around the 19th of March.
Of March.
But
wow.
Of March. Yeah. But then and then everything started shutting down like on the 16th and 17th, and I had a few things lined up, so I really couldn't leave before that. And just before the lockdown and everything went bad, I was supposed to go to Penang and then Dubai, and then initially I was supposed to go to France. At this time right now I was supposed to be in Paris teaching.
Oh wow, that would have been quite something. As one of the perfect city to be with your wife as well, a city of love and all that, right? Nice time of year. Paris in the spring, it's lovely, so that's I'm sorry for them. Well, hopefully there's light at the end of this tunnel soon. I mean, they started lifting some restrictions this week. I mean, obviously global travel has a way to go yet, but slowly but surely, right? But you've been busy still, it looks like. If you guys don't follow Aaron on Instagram, by the way, his profile is below. Check it out because there was a lot of very, very impressive stuff on there, all along the bottom, right? There's a lot of very, very impressive stuff on there. It seems that you've been occupying yourself, right? So I know that you travel a lot doing what you do. Like I said, you teach the teachers, so you work on a lot of these courses, these yoga teacher training courses, and so on. But have you been able to do that online in the last few weeks? How has it been for you in that respect?
Well, the thing is, like, it's impossible to do yoga teacher trainings online right now unless you have like your own platform, which is something that probably will be in the works maybe over the next couple of like years or months or years. But like we have been keeping ourselves busy by teaching like some stuff online, and then we are right now looking to promote and work on our YouTube channel, which is AYU Yoga, AYU Yoga, if you guys are interested. There are some AYU Yoga.
Yeah, yoga. Okay, let me put that up.
Yeah, so there are some like full length classes, of Yin Yoga and Vinyasa Yoga, and there are some tutorials there. So there are handstand tutorials, forearm stand tutorials, all of that stuff. To beginners.
For the uninitiated, which is basically me, so start with that. What is the difference between Vin and was it Vinyasa you just said?
Yeah, so basically in Yin Yoga, you hold one pose for maybe a couple of minutes 2 to 5, even 10 minutes. And what you do is we target the myofascia in the muscle. So it's all your muscle is made out of myofascia, and it surrounds your muscle. So basically, every time you feel tight, it's because your myofascia is all tightened up together. So in yin yoga, what we do is we hold one pose for a long, extended period of time without any muscular engagement, and we let gravity and time do the work. So you just put your body in a place where it stretches everything out, and just stay there, being calm and collective as you can with zero muscular engagement. And this helps, like improve your flexibility like really, really fast.
Sure. Okay, that sounds like just letting gravity do the work sounds like an exercise I can get behind. Okay, cool.
Right? Yeah.
Right. And so that's yin, right? And then vinyasa is a bit more involved, I imagine.
Yeah, vinyasa is way more dynamic. It's a lot like hatha yoga, which is it's a lot of asana. You're moving through asana. You're moving through a flow, and you combine a few things. You have a lot of transitions going on. It's kind of like a very coordinated flow.
Right. And it's tough, I think, if you don't mind my saying, like, especially amongst the gym going, the bro community, the heavy lifters and whatnot, yoga sometimes doesn't get, I think, the respect it deserves because it's bloody tough. I think a lot of these folks,
I totally agree. And to be honest, like I used to be one of those gym bro guys, because my background initially started off with Muay Thai kickboxing, and then
okay.
Yeah, so I was a professional fighter for a couple of years, and then later on I moved into powerlifting and bodybuilding, which I competed on a national level in powerlifting. I was supposed to compete in a bodybuilding show when I decided to do my first 200-hour yoga teacher training. And
I see.
Yeah, and I was in a bulking phase during my 200-hour teacher training, which was really tough. And
that's a great compliment.
Yeah, and then ended up finishing the training and then deciding, okay, I'm not going to do my show. What I'm going to do is I'm going to continue on my yoga journey,
Wow. So what was the what was the trigger? Like, why at that specific point? Especially during like something so, because obviously if you're a bodybuilder, if you're a competitive bodybuilder, your journey leading up to a show and your whole routine, your regime rather, I should say, is so carefully planned out. From phase by phase to bulking to cutting and back and all the rest of it. What was it that suddenly made you go, especially during a bulking phase, where, like, as you say, it's a difficult one to imagine doing any yoga on? But what was it that made you go, okay, I'm going to do YTT now? I'm going to do, which is yoga teacher training, right? So you're going to do your first 200-hour YTT course. What was that? What made you make that decision?
So basically, when when I first got introduced into yoga, and at that time, this was way before I decided to compete. But then when I first did my first yoga class, I was still heavily into lifting and everything. But the thing is, like, it was so challenging. It was so hard. And like, I could deadlift almost 500 pounds, but I could not for the life of me bend beyond 90 degrees, and I could not even, and when I tried to balance on my hands, it just seemed freaking impossible, like not even a handstand, like a basic arm balance, like, impossible. My down dog looked crippled. It was really bad. Yeah.
It was more a stray dog than a down dog, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Anybody who's seen your Instagram, by now, or anybody who's checked it out should, because what Aaron's saying now, the fact that he couldn't do a handstand back in the day seems almost impossible to believe, because I know now it's one of your favorite pastimes. Almost, you spend more time upside down than the right way up, which is very impressive. But I think I think that's interesting and very kind of, I would say almost like refreshing to hear, because like I said, yoga doesn't get the respect it deserves amongst that community as a whole. But it's very surprising because bodybuilding in itself is like, building the body, duh. But you would think though, guys with such intense obsession, let's face it, with how the body works and how it functions and how to build it to beyond what is considered human capacity. I mean, yoga is like the very, very purest form of that, right? Like yoga in itself is you cannot get a deeper understanding of how the body works unless you're the Dalai Lama himself and you're just in tune with it all, So it surprises me, and it's basically what I'm saying is it's refreshing to hear like a lifter like yourself be like, you know what, like I want to touch my toes now. I want to bend in the right direction.
Yeah, and if I'm being honest, like this is my story, and I know like a lot of guys will not admit this, but a lot of the reasons, one of the big reasons why guys, especially guys who go to the gym, do not like to do yoga is it's not because they think it's girly or things like that. It's just because like we as a whole collective are not flexible, and that's actually pretty scary. We look really silly doing it, and
yeah, pretty much what. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, well, after I started doing yoga, once I started getting more flexible, once I started to learn how to balance on my hands and how to manage your whole body when you're upside down, it makes you way more stronger in the gym because because like think about it like this: when you are in the gym and when you're lifting, you are only isolating. If you're doing a bench press, you're only using your chest in this area, right? So
in one direction,
exactly, it's just one direction,
one plane of movement. Yeah.
The thing is, in yoga you learn to engage your entire body and contract your entire body and work with your breath, right? And this is the only way that you can stay upside down or even do certain things. So once your body gets used to function that way, and you go back into the gym, you realize that your strength has gone through the roof. I mean, I still constantly go to the gym. I think like the gym, obviously, it helps my yoga practice like tremendously.
Yeah, because you're building pure, like yoga is building your core strength and your balance, your flexibility, your understanding of your body's foundation. But you still sometimes need a bit of raw strength to maintain a handstand for as long as you do. Right? Yeah. So nice to know that you combine the two. So then, okay, so you did your first like 200 hour YTT was at the same time as around the same time as your first competition, but you decided not to compete and you continued with yoga. So what was the next stage like for you? What happened next?
So after that, like within a couple of months, I did my 500 hour teacher training. So which is the advanced teacher training. So in order for you to teach 200 hours, you need to have a 500 hour teacher training. And that is the next step. So I did that. And the thing is, no matter how many teacher trainings you do after that, it doesn't just add on to it. So it's like if you do 500 and then you do another 500, you don't have 1,000 or you don't have 800. It just remains at 500.
I mean, I hesitate to even ask you how many hours you think it's been, but as long as you've got the 5, like that's the one that matters.
As long as you got the 5, you're good.
This has taken you all over the world. Like, where if you could name a favorite place where you've done a course or taught a course or whatever, where would you pick?
There are. I think I would have to say Mexico. It was just really nice, and we were like all the way in Sayulita, which is like the opposite end, like beautiful beaches, and the people are really nice, they're friendly. And, you do get the dangerous places in Mexico, for sure. But there are also like really, really, really nice places. I mean, the people are super nice there.
Mexico. I mean, I went to Cancun for spring break a few years ago, so I think I saw a different Mexico than you did, but it was still pretty beautiful in a very, very different way.
Oh no, I've been to Cancun. I've been to Cancun and Playa del Carmen. So yeah, pretty good.
Brilliant. Anyway, that's probably a different conversation. Anyway,
Yeah.
before we get sidetracked, so I understand you're going to be sharing with us a few demonstrations, you're going to be walking us through the basics, and even the basics of the basics, if you like. Like you're not going to be showing us like a yin flow or vinyasa, but really you're going to be showing us the fundamentals of flexibility, right? Which will be useful like to anyone out there who's watching, anybody who's considered taking up yoga but isn't really quite sure where to start, how to start. This will be things that maybe they can work on even at home, just to like get comfortable with the concept of being flexible, because some people don't know, like me, myself included, I can barely touch my toes, so I'm probably not going to follow along with you live, but I'll be watching and I'll be taking down notes, and then some other things too. So tell us a little bit about what you're going to share with us.
So basically, this is kind of like a sequence that I did when I first started, because like I told you, like I was as flexible as a rock, so it was really, really bad. So these poses really helped me, like help my body open up. And yeah, I started to see like results within maybe 2 weeks, which is like really, really good. And then the more you keep doing it, the more results you see. And this thing, like you can do the thing that I'm going to show you, you can do it like every day. You can even do it twice a day. It only takes like 20 to 25 minutes max. And
nice.
And yeah, it's like really relaxing. And the thing is, once you start to see how much the benefits of like having a little bit of extra flexibility, and then just how your body copes, like even like when you're walking on the road, you step into a pothole, how the rest of your body adapts to it is just different.
Interesting. Yeah, I think our bodies spend a lot of time working against each other, I think, and it's nice to center that once again. Okay, cool. And I know there are a couple of more advanced demos you have for us a bit later on, and we'll also have, I think, for the audience at home, we're going to have a Q&A at the end of the session. So if you have any questions about getting into yoga, where to begin, the basics of it, the benefits of it, actually, because there are a lot, stick them in the comments below and we'll get them up on the screen. And we do have we've got Aaron here for free for the next 45 minutes or so make the most of him. He's here, he's captive, he's prepared to answer some questions, so make the most of him. So get your questions in below. If yoga is something you're considering or you're curious about, even let us know. But Aaron, look, the stage is yours. I'll hand over to you and you can show us your stuff.
Okay. So let's get started. Let me just set up and get on my mat. Let me get rid of the chair.
No problem.
Okay.
Let me just put you there. Where should I put you?
Yeah, no, that works. Okay.
All right. I'm going to put you full screen. So I'm still here. I'm still talking, but the stage is yours.
Okay. So the thing is with yin yoga, what we want to do is, like I mentioned before, we are letting time and gravity do the work for us. So we're just putting our body in certain positions, and we just let time and gravity open up our muscles. And the thing is, like, the last thing you want to have is muscular engagement. So like there is going to be some kind of muscular engagement, but the target muscles that we are targeting, try to keep them as relaxed as possible, right? So let's just get started. The first one is called the half butterfly. So what you want to do is have both legs extended, sitting straight up. Have one leg extended out. Take the sole of your other foot, place it on the inside of your thigh. Let everything relax completely. And then all you want to do is just fold yourself over. Okay. And before you fold yourself over, if your ankle is crunched up, pull your foot, straighten it out, lengthen out your ankle, and then just fold yourself over. Now, up here, what we're doing is we're targeting our hamstrings. And we're targeting on the other leg, we're targeting inner hip. So basically, it's this, yeah. And we're targeting our inner hip and hamstring. Now, from here, when you're folding over, you do not want to be grabbing onto your foot and yanking yourself into the pose. What we want to maintain is like maybe about if your full range is 100%, what we want to do is maybe stay for like, or engage yourself for like 60% of the thing. So what I like to do is initially just start off with my hands.
I apologize. I think we just lost you there slightly, Aaron. That could have been my issue. But never mind.
Okay, we're good?
Yeah, continue. Sorry about that. Technical glitch.
No worries. So yeah, what we want to do is we start off just relaxing, folding ourselves over the extended leg. And so when we are here, we're not engaging our leg, we're not pointing, pulling, we're not doing anything. We're just letting everything hang forward, letting your body drape over. Now, you want to keep this leg completely engaged. And one thing I like to do is grab my toes, grab my foot, and pull them in towards me. So I access the myofascia in my calf. So initially, some of us are not going to be able to reach our foot like this. So if all you can reach is your calf, that's completely fine. Just let your torso fold over, and as long as you're feeling your stretch in your hamstrings, it's perfectly good. So as your body opens up more, so we are going to stay in this pose for anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes, right? So initially, if you can reach your foot, go ahead, pull your toes in towards you, let your body drape over, and then just let everything hang loose, and just close your eyes. If you have some nice music playing, let that play in the background. Just come back to your breath, focus on your breath. You can meditate, focus on your third eye center. As your body opens up, as like around 1 minute starts to go by, you'll feel your muscle opening up a little bit more. So then I start to grab my heel and then just let my body fold over. If you feel like your body is opening up more, you can use your opposite hand and grab the outside of your foot. This accesses the myofascia all along your side body. Let yourself drape over. And then if this is also really comfortable for you, just grab your ankle and just fold yourself over and stay for around 2 to 5 minutes. So that would be pose number 1. And I hope that's clear. Jacob, do you have any questions regarding this?
No, I just think you mentioned music. What do you usually put on while you're listening to when you're doing your? Actually, no, I have 2 questions. A, music, and B, when is a good time? When is a typically good time to do this? Like during the day, is it like a good morning stretch, like to loosen you up for the day, or is it better to like wind down after a day?
So here's the thing. Okay, so let me answer your question. So initially, music, whatever floats your boat. Sometimes I'm listening to really aggressive rap. Sometimes I'm listening to regular hip hop, chilled out beats, meditation music. It depends on my mood. Right? And yeah, whatever that helps you relax. And part B is you can do this at any time. Initially in the morning, it is a bit harder because your body is a bit more stiffer. But you can do this in the morning. If you are if you're a bit less flexible, I would suggest that you do this before you do your yoga practice. But if you are really flexible, then you can do this at any time. It doesn't really matter. You can do this anywhere from 1 to 2 times a day. Like I said, the whole thing will only take you 20 to 25 minutes. So that is pose number 1. I hope that answered your question.
All right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, and the second one is called the full butterfly. which is taking both the soles of your feet, placing them together, and let your knees fall out to the side. Now, from here, what I like to do is you can either bring them um, closer to you or further away from you. It depends on which area you want to target. So it depends on each one is different. Like when I bring my feet closer, I feel a more intense stretch right in the insertions here, but then some people would feel it in different places. So I like to place them somewhere around the middle, not too far away, not too close. And then I lift my hips up, I tilt them forward, place them back down. Just let your knees hang out to the side. You're not pushing them, you're not yanking them. And if this is all that's accessible for you, sometimes like when I initially started off, my my legs are somewhere here. So eventually over time they open up, and yeah, just let your torso fold over your legs. And then what you can do is you can walk your hands more and more forwards depending on how much your body opens up. And then all you want to do is just let time and gravity do the work. Just letting everything hang out to the sides. You're not having any kind of muscular engagement. Um, you don't, there's no muscular engagement. You can just fold yourself forward. Hold on for 1 second. Yeah. Um, yeah. Fold yourself over. And
No worries.
yeah. And then stay for anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes, depending on how much time you have. I would say the minimum time that you want to hold a pose is 2 minutes, but depending on
Okay.
how much opening that you need, you can hold for longer. Remember, you're not forcing yourself into going more than 60%. As long as you feel the stretch, you don't want to like crank yourself into a certain position and then tear anything. So you're not going full force. You're not holding too much back. You're just hanging around somewhere in the middle, letting your muscle open up. So do you have any questions with that, or all good?
No, I think you answered it almost just then by saying, so about, or at least 2 minutes, like 2 to 3 minutes is about a good time to hold this kind of pose. And you're not forcing it, again, like you said, just time and gravity. Sounds good.
Yeah, perfect. So the third pose would be the reclining twist. Now, I put this in as a third one because after you do this, it's a lot of folding over. So me personally, by folding over so much, I get a little bit of a sore back. So this kind of helps prevent that. So just lay down, lift your hips up, move them to the right. So you always want to lift your hips up and move them to the right before you do this. So when you move your hips to the right, you take your right leg, you wrap it around your left. Now from here, you can either leave it just like this, or if you can hook your leg through, that's fine. It's not necessary, but you can do it if you want to. And then just let your knees spill out to the left side. You take your right hand, you extend it in the same line as your shoulder, and then just relax as much as you can and with every exhale, let gravity pull your right shoulder towards the ground. This really releases your spine and creates all kinds of, you'll feel all kinds of sensations in your lower back, your QL, especially if you're sitting for a long time, during your day, you develop a really sore lower back. So this is really great for targeting the lower back, your IT band, your glutes, and also like depending on how how stiff you are on that day, you'll feel some opening all along your chest and your bicep by having your arm extended out. So again, we want to just relax as much as we can in this pose. We want to have one important thing is we want to have our gaze pointing up towards the sky, because there are a lot of blood vessels and things going on in your neck. So by having it turned to one side, for a long period of time, there could be some constriction, and then because you're holding it for an extended period of time, when you release your pose, one thing that could happen is that you might feel a bit woozy. So in order to avoid that, just keep your gaze up towards the sky and then just completely relax, ease into your pose. When you're done with this side, roll everything into the middle, unhook your legs, place your feet on the outside edges of your mat, let your knees cave in. You can windshield wipe your legs a little bit. This just helps like decompress the spine, any kind of tension you might have built up. Lift your hips up, place them to the left, wrap the left leg around the right, hook it if you want to, let your knees spill out to the right, and extend your left arm out to the side in parallel line with your shoulder. So it's the same set of instructions for the other side. So again, this one's a little bit confusing. So just go through it one more time. So you lift your hips up, place them to the right. Wherever you place your hips, it's that side leg that wraps around the other leg. And then you let your knees spill out opposite side. Yeah?
Yeah.
So yeah, again, you can hold this pose for anywhere from like 2 to 5 minutes, which is perfect. Any questions?
I think
this one?
No, you answered it just there with the explanation. I was about to say that looks like absolute bliss as far as your lower back in particular is concerned, right? And I know a lot of us, I mean, we've had a couple of health. We had a chiropractor on last week, and in fact the week before, same guy. He was so popular, he came back, and so a lot of the questions around that topic and around that session were, on the topic of lower back pain, posture while at work, sitting down all day at the office, and all the rest of it. Like a lot of us are suffering from back pain that we all shouldn't necessarily be, So I think a lot more of us than you'd think are out there looking for lower back pain remedies. So what you've just shared will be very, very useful to a lot of people, I'm sure.
Yeah, this is a really amazing stretch for lower back pain. And me personally, I always have a lower back pain due to my background. The injuries that I've sustained, like during the fights and then powerlifting, bodybuilding. This stretch really helps whenever I feel like my lower back is a bit tight. Just pop into this stretch for like 5 to 10 minutes, and I'm good to go.
Got it. Yeah, I was going to ask. So this kind of stretch you can hold for a bit longer, more like 5 minutes or.
Yeah, for sure. You can hold it anywhere from like 2 to 8 minutes. It's completely fine.
Okay.
I've had some students and myself, to be honest, I fall asleep in it sometimes, and which is not the best idea. It is very relaxing, to be honest. But if you do fall asleep in it, you're going to wake up a bit lopsided unless you hold the same thing on the other side.
You'll need to do a different kind of stretch to get out of that stretch. All right, so
exactly.
Don't fall asleep, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Okay.
So that's pose number 3.
Yeah, that's number 3. Number 4 is called the dragon. This one is a bit tougher. Let me just tilt the screen up a little bit. Okay. So yeah, with this one, what we want to do is we come into this shape. Extend your leg out behind you. You can untuck your toes, keep them flat on the ground, and then what we want to do is place our right hand onto the ground, and then let our right hip sink towards the ground. So basically what we're doing, I'll show you on the other side, is we're targeting our hip flexor right here. This is, our hip flexors are a muscle that hardly get targeted. And this is a very, very, very painful pose for some people, but it's very important, especially if you're seated in a desk for a long period of time and you're always folding over the laptop, over your phone. This area gets really tight. So this really helps with that. So get into this position, like an extended lunge with your leg extended out backwards. Make sure your front knee is above your front ankle. Um, to make this pose more intense, all you have to do is slide your back foot backwards. Place your whichever side you have your foot back, place that on the ground, and then all you want to do is you can place your hand down a bit outside of your mat, and then you just let your hips sink down into the ground. This feels really, really good for the first few seconds, and then it just gets more and more and more painful. But I would suggest you start this pose off anywhere from 1 minute to 5 minutes. I personally don't do it for more than 2 minutes because I find this extremely painful, but it's up to you. So if I feel like this variation targets my hip flexors really well. You can also get down on your forearms, and then if you are really, really flexible, you can go down to your chest. But this is I recommend start off.
I'll start more in the I think I'll start more with the runner's pose, looking part of that process, and then maybe gradually over the course of many months, I will eventually get my chest down onto the floor. But I mean, I admire your optimism, Aaron, but
initially you start off there, and then you'd be surprised, when you put your body through these flexibility routines within like a couple of weeks, how much progress you make is actually quite impressive, and it's like unbelievable sometimes, So again, we want to hold this pose somewhere from between 1 to 5 minutes. I wouldn't suggest going more than 5 minutes because I don't think anyone is going to last more than 5 minutes anyway.
Fair enough. I guess it depends how deep their chest is going down to the ground, but 5 minutes seems okay.
Yeah. So everything clear on that pose? Any kind of questions that you might have, or everything cool? Move on.
I think that one's fine. That was the dragon pose, right? You mentioned.
Yeah, that was the dragon. The next one is called the sleeping swan. I did not make up all these names, by the way. These are the names.
I bet you could.
Yeah, so this one, the sleeping swan, is you go in it from dragon. So basically, when you're in your dragon pose, all you're doing is you're placing both hands on the ground. You lift up your leg, you place it in a parallel line with your mat. Can you see me? My leg is parallel to the mat. So, and if this is too intense for you, you can always bring your foot closer to your hip. So let me show you on the other side. So you can either have your foot parallel to the mat, or if this is too intense, you want to have it closer to your hip. And then just keep sliding your back leg backwards. And then what you want to do is you want to come down onto your forearms. And this targets your IT band and your glutes. So you can start off here. This is actually, even though it looks a little bit painful, it is not. It's actually quite comfy. And start up on your forearms, and then eventually you can go down to a sleeping position and just put your head on the mat. Now, if this is too comfortable for you, let me just switch to the other side so you guys can see what both legs look like. If this is too comfortable for you, you can always bring your shin on the parallel to the mat, and then extend your back leg backwards, and then come down all the way onto your belly. This is a really good. Sorry?
Yeah, I've got to admit, that is one pose I've observed. I've seen people doing this at the gym as part of their maybe occasional warm-ups or what have you. That is one pose I've observed and always thought that is something I could never ever do. I think it looks impossible.
No, it's actually you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. Initially, when I started off, I was personally somewhere here, and then I could only go down to this much. but the more and more you hold it, you can just sink all the way, and your body opens up really fast. You'll be really surprised. Again, this one you can hold anywhere from 2 to 8 minutes, depending on how comfortable you are and what your level is, and how much time you have for the day. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. So what was that one called again? Sorry.
This is the Sleeping Swan.
Sleeping Swan, that's the one. Oh, okay, I won't forget that in a hurry. So we've gone from the dragon to the Sleeping Swan. Okay.
Yeah. So this is pretty much all that I have for the lower body, and then we move on to the upper body. So the next one, what we have is called the broken branch. And to do the broken branch, what you need to do is you lay down on your mat. You take your hand, you extend it in the same line. Can you still see me? Yeah. Okay. Extend it in the same line of your shoulder. And then what you want to do is place your other hand underneath your armpit and then peel yourself off onto the same side of the arm that's extended. You can place your foot to ground. Yeah. And it's a really good stretch for your bicep and your chest. And then depending on how you are, you can have your other arm in front of you, or you can have it behind you. And then just rest your head down. This is a bit of an intense stretch, but it's really good to targeting the fascia all along your bicep and your chest. So extend your arm out, peel yourself over, and then depending on how comfortable you are here, you can have your hand back and just grab your hand, let your head fall over. If this is not enough of an opening for you, you can take your leg that's placed on the ground and then extend it up. And you can hold it anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. The thing is with this pose is within the first 2 minutes, your hand starts to go numb because blood circulation gets a bit cut off. As soon as you feel pins and needles in your hands, like just come out of your pose slowly.
Yeah. That seems like a sensible rule to follow. My question, how does it, I've got myself on so you're not talking to the screen. How does that work on the shoulder? It looks as if when you're rolling over, you're putting a lot of downward pressure on like one part of your shoulder. Does it feel okay? I can imagine it looks a little bit painful.
It's actually not, because you're just basically what you're doing is you're taking your shoulder from here and then just moving it all the way back there. So a lot of us, we can't, initially when I started off, that's the thing, right? When I started off, I couldn't take my shoulder beyond here. And to go beyond this point, I had to turn my entire torso. So this is think about this in a real life situation, If someone throws a ball and you have to extend your arm out to catch it, and like if you have more flexibility, you can turn around more, you don't have to turn your torso completely. You can turn your torso in a certain way, dislocate something, pull something, so this is how it helps you in a real life scenario, Again, with all of these poses, you want to, respect your physical edge. Your physical edge is the 60% of your full capability that I was talking about. You don't want to just force yourself into a pose. Initially when I started doing this type of thing, I would go beyond my 60% because, in a gym, when you're working out, you always want to do more and more and more and more. And you feel like if you're not going 100%, you're not doing anything. But that's not how your muscle tissue works. It doesn't work that way. So, especially when it comes to flexibility.
More people. More people I think need to bear that in mind. Yeah, agreed. It's not always about. It's about consistency over intensity, right? It's not about pushing yourself. So, Well, it
Building
is,
muscle,
but
I
not.
would say, is definitely you can push yourself beyond your limits, but when it comes to improving flexibility, definitely not. You can't force
Yeah.
yourself into being more flexible. You have to let your body open
Yeah,
up and
yeah.
take full time.
Yeah, you can't just force a split. If you can't do a split, you can't force yourself into a split. I mean, you could try, but I imagine the
You can
consequences would
try.
be
You won't.
horrifying.
You probably won't get up. You probably can stay in your split forever.
You might do a split, but it'll be the first and last split you ever do.
Exactly. Just take a bunch of pictures and then call it a day. Go to the hospital.
All right, cool. So that's the first one. That's the first one for the upper body. What have you got? Next?
So that was broken branch. The next one is called the broken wing. Again, I didn't come up with these names. Yeah. So what you want to do is you want to, again, you're on your belly. Take your right arm, thread it under. Extend your left arm. And what you want to do is you want to have your left shoulder come down all the way onto the mat. Now, initially, when I started doing this, and then all you want to do is you want to place your head down, right? Initially, when I started doing this, I was somewhere here because my rear delts were really tight. So again, you can extend your arm out completely. You can have like a little pillow, or you can have your forearm here. You can rest your head on your forearm, or if you have a big shoulder, you can just rest your chin on your shoulder. That works too. And yeah, this targets the muscle fascia all along the outside of your shoulder and your tricep, which feels great, to be honest. And like, it's initially when you start doing it, it's a little bit painful, but this really helps in a lot of shoulder mobility. So again, on the other side, you initially want to start off on your forearm. You take one hand, you thread it through. Let your torso come down to the ground. Extend your other hand, and hand that's extended, you want to bring that shoulder all the way down onto your mat. Again, this pose, you can hold it anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes until you start to go numb in your hand.
Yeah, that seems to be a pretty good benchmark rule to follow. Wait until the pins and needles hit, then get up. Okay, I'll bear that in mind.
Yeah. So that is the broken wing, and the next one is, there's no English name for it, but I call it. It's called the Anahatasana. So it's kind of like, it's good to stretch out your back, your lats, and serratus, all of that. So what I do here is, okay, let's go here. Find yourself a wall. Stand about a hand's distance away from the wall. Okay, you can still see me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Place your hands on the wall. Turn your hands in. Place your elbows on the wall, and then try to touch your chest onto the wall. So, and you just want to hold this, extend your hands out, and breathe into your rib cage. Now, if this is comfortable for you, take a half a foot, take a step back. Again, here, and to really sink down. And what we're doing is we're really extending through our hands, we're breathing into our back. And this is really great to target the muscle fascia all along your back and your serratus, and it really helps with so many things. Again, we're holding this. Sorry?
So it looks quite good for the almost even for the lower back, because of the way you're arching it somewhat. Is it like a little bit, or does it not really affect it that much?
Yeah, I wouldn't say the lower back, but somewhere around the middle back, it's really effective, for sure. Yeah. So yeah, that's the last one. And again, you're holding this for around anywhere from 2 to 4 minutes. I wouldn't suggest going more than that, because your back is in a weird position in the end of the day. So yeah, 2 to 4 minutes. And yeah, that is the routine that I did when I started off to build up my overall flexibility. And this routine like really, really, really helped me. Within like 2 weeks, I saw like so much more improvements. My range of motion started to improve, and then within a couple of months, you see some dramatic results, which is actually quite crazy. And the more flexible you get, the easier it is to do all of these other crazy inversions and arm balancing that
you've got to start somewhere.
Sorry?
These are you've got to start somewhere, right? Of course, these are the building blocks. But I think what's very interesting is how we just forget, or we take for granted like what movement is really about in many respects, and what the body is or should be capable of. Like we don't, we're so busy, as you mentioned earlier, hunched over our desks, hunched over our phones, on the rush constantly all the time. We don't stop to think about the fact that really we should be able to do, I'm not saying we should all be able to do a split like that. Of course not, that you've got to work on that. But we're all a lot more inflexible than we realize, so
Yeah.
and the body is supposed to work a lot better than many of our bodies. And I'm talking about not like you, of course, but I'm talking about someone like me here. The body is supposed to work a lot better than it does. I mean, my hamstrings are tight as a violin bow. My lower back is crushed. I'm in agony half the time, but I'm just like, oh, you know what? It's because I'm just hunched over a little bit, but I think, I'm one of many people who perhaps if they just took, like you said, 20, 25 minutes a day, just to, and it's not even an exercise, guys. It's just like gravity and time, and the benefits will be huge. So
yeah,
and that's a really good takeaway from me for that. So thank you for taking us through that. Now we can go over a little bit. That's okay, but we've got about 5 minutes of the hour left, and I know there were a couple of things you want. I know there are a couple of things you wanted to demonstrate, so we can still get around to that. Let's do that, and then we can have the Q&A at the end, if you like.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. So let's just go through 2 things. That a couple of quick arm balance things. So okay. So the first thing that we want to do is called the crow, and I'm sure you know what it is. It's the first arm balancing pose that any yoga teacher would teach, and it's the gateway into many other fancy arm balancing. So with this pose, even though it's the first and the most basic pose, it's one of the most important, because even handstands and all of the other advanced poses are built upon this thing. So once you master this, and once you know how to do this thing properly, everything works out. I mean, it's way more easier to understand the body mechanics of how to get into the others. So what you want to do is you start off with your toes together and you come into a squat. So having your legs going out to the side. Now, if this is hard for you, you can always start off like this, normal squat. Wriggle your body as close as you can, like make yourself as tiny as possible. So if you look at me from the side, I am very small, right? So from here, what we want to do is squeeze the outside of our shoulders with our knees as much as we can, right? So the less space we have between our thighs and our chest, upper body and lower body, the more stronger we are in this pose. So again, let me move into this side. We're squeezing everything together. We place our hands underneath our shoulders, okay? Shoulder distance apart. Squeeze back a little bit. Here, okay? We place it shoulder distance apart. We draw our elbows in, and then all we are doing is we are leaning forward. Let me just go back to this plane so you guys can see me properly. We place our hands down, elbows go in, come up high onto your tippy toes, and then start to lean forward. Now, this is going to be a little scary initially at first, and then the more you lean and the more you keep your chest reaching forward, your legs are going to start floating up. Now,
wow.
Yeah.
So,
so this pose, like the more you have, the less space you have between your upper body and lower body, the more stronger you are in the pose. Now, a lot of the mistakes that we do is when we go forward, we're not squeezing our legs into the outside of our shoulders. So we start to go forward and then our legs start to slip off. And then most of the people go into their crow around here. This is actually quite an inefficient way to go into crow because like you're losing a lot of power in it. So what we want to do is want to keep our knees to the outside of our shoulders, come up high onto your toes, and then keep squeezing your knees and then just keep reaching your chest forward and then let your heels come into your glutes. Keep pushing through your hands, keep your chest up, keep looking forward in front of you. And then once you're ready, you can come down. So a few things to remember here is your hand placement. They're not too close, they're not too far. Your elbows are going in, so you're squeezing your elbows and your knees in because what goes in goes up. And you want to keep your knees to the outside of your shoulders, keep them hugging in, and keep leaning forward. Now, initially, when you start doing this, it is going to be a bit scary. So what I would suggest you to do is you place everything down, you go in here, start going in with one leg at a time. And then once you feel like you're ready, try both. Okay. Any questions?
Challenge accepted. How long did it take you? Your question. How long did it take you to get that right?
You'd be surprised. Like a lot of people, if you have a stronger upper body, you should be able to get it within a day. It's actually not too hard.
Well, I might go and try it out now myself. You know, I think the sun. The sun is shining out on my balcony. Well, the sun is setting on my balcony. It seems like an appropriate kind of. I mean, I don't know if you can see it from.
Oh yeah,
it's like like appropriate kind of like setting for this kind of thing. So I might go and try that. I might also just go and lie down because I'm that kind of guy. But you've inspired me to try at least. All right, Aaron, so thank you for sharing us that as well. That's definitely something to work towards. I think I'll start with a few sleeping swans and a couple of broken branches before I get round to the crow. But nevertheless, there's definitely stuff to work on there. Guys, we're going to wrap up, I think, in another 5 minutes or so. So if you have any questions, get them in the comments below the Facebook video and we will get round to them. Aaron, I have a question, actually, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
And that is, what would your advice be? And I mean, right now, of course, especially, I guess, obviously the yoga studios are all closed, and at least in Malaysia, they look to be for at least the immediate future. I know some businesses are going back, but obviously gyms and studios and what have you are remaining shut. So with that in mind, but also more generally, for a beginner, what would you recommend is the best way to start in terms of is it okay for people to start picking up a couple of things online, like watching YouTube tutorials just so they are comfortable with the basics? Or would you really recommend going to starting at a beginner's class so that you have immediate instruction? Is there what's your thought on that?
To be honest, I personally recommend starting off on YouTube. There's so much free content available. yeah, right there,
Right, start yoga, yeah.
Yeah, and there's so much of free content available. And if you are a complete beginner to yoga, I would suggest finding a good flexibility routine like the one that I just showed you guys. Try this, develop your flexibility. Keep doing your vinyasa. Keep finding some stuff online. There are some really good apps, that have like full length classes. There are the YouTube channels, that have full length classes. You can keep practicing that. The more you keep practicing, you understand how the body works, and yeah, and you just take it from there. And then the more you get into it, the more the ball keeps rolling. It's like a snowball going downhill. It just picks up way more and more pace, and then you just
Yeah, of course.
and
Once
then
you the rules in place, right? I can imagine. What about? I mean, I'm sure you've tried. I mean, like hot yoga, for example, is a concept that's always fascinated me. It sounds like torture in many ways. Like, what's your experience with that kind of class or that kind of session?
to be honest, like those kind of things, it's the same thing as just in a heated room. And yeah, it's like it's like combining sitting in a sauna and your yoga practice together. But if you live in a tropical country and you don't have air conditioning, any kind of yoga is hot yoga, right?
Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah,
Like I said, it's especially like, I think a lot of people, going back to what we said at the very beginning about the the respect or lack of that it gets from some of the community. It's like it's tough, like because your body is under constant tension. Your muscular stamina and endurance is really put to the test. And like it's like holding, like people like the plank, the simple plank. That's part of like many gym routines, and people always use it as like an abs finisher, like a minute plank
yeah,
at the end of. And so the plank is like seen as this whole thing. It's like you got to hold your, like doing a 10-minute flow is like one big plank, but in many different positions. Like it's holding your body through all that, and yet I think touching on what you said, because we're not maybe dudes just aren't as flexible as we'd like to be. Maybe that's why they find it so tough. But yeah, people underestimate, sorry, just how much endurance and stamina this whole thing takes. So it's really impressive stuff. I had one more question actually. What was it going to be? Oh yeah, because I think we'll end on this one. No one's coming to us in the comments below. I guess they're probably down on their mats doing their sleeping swans right now, so they can't get to the keyboard maybe. But one more question I've had, and that is again for the beginner or for someone who's thinking of trying yoga and all the rest of it. What are some like unexpected benefits that you've come across or that you've heard about or that you would not prescribe, but that you would mention? Because flexibility and all that is one thing, but I know that having such a deep kind of mind-body connection and everything has a lot of other benefits too. So what would you say are some unexpected benefits from good yoga practice?
Well, some things that helped me quite a lot were, when you're in your practice, the only thing that you can think of is what you're doing and what you're going to do next on your mat. Everything else kind of like switches off, and it's a really good way to like just let everything go. Especially if you have like a crazy day and some insane stuff going on in your life, it's the perfect way to shut all of that down. Just go onto your mat and then be in your own little bubble for an hour or however long your practice is, which is actually, it doesn't seem like a big thing, but it's actually it's quite helpful. You know.
Yeah, I
Um,
bet.
yeah.
You
Another
can't,
thing yeah, another thing that I found out that like is really helpful through the yoga practice is how much more strength you develop. And I don't mean like just in the gym, how much more endurance, how much because like in yoga you practice breathing. There's a lot of breathing techniques. You have to breathe, in your yoga poses, and you learn to synchronize your breath with your movements. This actually translates to a bigger lung capacity, and then that helps like your just more um, you just have more endurance in everything. And when it comes to running, walking, everything.
Your body is
Um,
you're just using your engine much more efficiently, right? Your engine is in tune with itself, like all of the pistons all the time with the, or to use that analogy, I guess. Interesting. And to get back to your first point about how when you're doing a flow, when you're doing a session, when you're practicing or during a class, like it's all about the now and the next, right? And you can't really deviate from that. So it becomes like a very meditative practice, like without you almost realizing it. Whereas like a lot of the time these days that you go, or at least this isn't me, because I like to train by myself and without music even. So I'm kind of focused when I train. But in the gym, you see so many people like just on their phone the whole time, talking to their mates, just dicking about, quite frankly, like it's not like, you're doing a good workout, I'm sure. But it's not, you're not very into it. How into it can you be if you're checking bloody Instagram between all your sets, like
exactly.
focus, man. Yeah. I think that's just me being annoyed, because these are the guys hogging the bloody bench press all the time. And I'm like, move. But yogi, you can't do that. You can't do that during a decent like vinyasa flow or anything, can you? So interesting point. All right, Aaron, cool. Well, we've just run over time a little bit, so I'm afraid we'll have to cut the session there. But it's been a real pleasure speaking to you. Thank you very, very much for taking the time. I know like you and your wife are putting up a lot of very, very impressive videos on Instagram. So guys, check them out below, because some of the handstand kind of couples things they're doing on there are really, really bafflingly impressive. So check that out. So Aaron, I know you're very busy during this period, creating lots of amazing content and working on your channel. So thank you for taking the time out of your day to come and speak to us. It's been very, very enlightening, very, very interesting. And I hope it's inspired some people at home to take it up and to just explore, because I think we can all learn to use our bodies a little bit better. And in this day and age, in this modern world where we're all hunched over our desks and everything all the time, it would just be better to work on that, I think, to have more control over that. So thank you, Aaron, for sharing that with us, and all the very best with your YouTube channel. We hope you can travel again soon. I know that's a huge part of your life, and I know your students are desperately waiting for you as well. So thank you for that, mate. Best of luck, and stay in touch. And who knows, maybe there'll be other ways we can collaborate on some content ideas in the near future. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure, man. Thanks for having me. And I really appreciate you guys hosting me and being so nice about this. Hopefully we can collaborate soon again. And
let's hope so.
Stay safe.
What do I say? Namaste. Yeah. Thank you very much, brother. Namaste. Be safe, be well, and we'll talk to you soon. All right, that was the wonderful Aaron Wik, the RYT 500. And if you guys have forgotten what that means he's a registered yoga teacher with over 500 hours of practice, and he teaches the teachers by now. So we hope that's given you a few ideas to work on your flexibility practice at home. Like he said, it is just 20 to 25 minutes. You can do it once, twice a day. It will improve your flexibility and make you feel better in no time at all. And I think in this modern world, the way that we move could use a lot of work. We're always hunched over our desks. We're always crammed onto public transport. We're always just moving in ways that maybe our bodies weren't meant to. So sometimes it's nice mentally and physically to take a minute to take a breath and stretch things out just a little bit. So I'm going to go work on my sleeping swan. You guys join us again, because in an hour's time at 8 o'clock, we are welcoming a live musician. We are delighted to welcome, Mr. Izen Kong, a classical musician who'll be doing some live music and even taking some dedications. So join us again in a short while. We'll be back here for a live music performance. Until then, thank you very much and stay safe.